This episode starts with a flashback of how Jack lost his sword, or rather, how his sword left him. When Jack had located the last time portal in existence, he actually managed to leap through it. Look how happy our samurai was for a brief second, his face full of relief and elation. Only for Aku to pull him right out, destroy the final time portal, and zealously mock Jack. Jack was enraged, unable to control his emotions, and was driven to a frenzy. He even resembled the inner self that would manifest in his hallucinations later. Jack should have known that Aku transformed the sheep. He saw them grow in size and take on their new monstrous forms. But Jack didn't care. He needed to release his fury and mercilessly cut down the beasts. By the time he had realized he slayed innocent lives, it was too late. His lack of control led to regret and guilt, and Jack no longer felt worthy of his sword, which is why his sword left him. Jack's a bad man. I apologize for that joke, I couldn't resist. Jack and Ashi return to this location on a giant bird, befriending the wolf, riding the serpent, and now the bird. All animals are friends of Jack apparently, when he's not mercilessly slaughtering them. The music as they descend down into the chasm was phenomenal, so forlorn, somber, and intimate. It was amazing. Jack didn't realize the full extent of his loss and what it meant until this episode, although it certainly haunted his mind. Jack's flashback of losing his sword was tinted the same eerie green as that of the Omen, demonstrating that at the moment his sword fell down the chasm, Jack already felt he had lost his honor and purpose. In my review of last episode, I said I hoped there was a good reason why Jack wasn't able to retrieve his sword before. I'm definitely satisfied with playing up the magical component of this sword. Jack has to be righteous enough to wield it, and the debased Jack who lacks balance is not worthy. So Jack goes on an introspective search for the sword via meditation, while Ashi takes on the task of guarding Jack from an incoming army out for his life. Jack's meditation was beautiful. The serene, peaceful green hues are a stark contrast to the eerie greens of the Omen, and it's immediately obvious Jack is trying to find inner peace. Even as Jack moves past the stormy part of his psyche, the colors still felt rich and soft, which I believe is representational that Jack is able to separate from and control his darker emotions. And the pastel river on which Jack locates the shrine was just gorgeous. Ashi obliterating the orc army was, at times, comical and goofy. This moment in particular was something like out of Looney Tunes. But then it becomes more intense, as Ashi is yelling her lungs out while slaying an enormous amount of enemies. The stark cuts to Jack's peaceful journey, to him quietly preparing tea, and then back to the bloodshed Ashi was dishing out were amazingly effective. And yet, I expected some sort of exploration of Ashi's psyche, since she is a person raised through violence after all. There were shots of the mental and physical stress Ashi was undergoing during the combat soaked in a chilling red color, and I thought they were building up to something. I thought there was going to be some point to the juxtaposition beyond just the visual splendor that it provided. But there wasn't really. Ashi kills the entire army single-handedly and then goes on to fight her mother. There wasn't any sort of message or psychological exploration of her mind. The fight just ended up being pure violence. At times, nearly glorified violence at that. And at the end of the episode, it even becomes a joke. An orc slowly and painfully dying from a spear through the stomach becomes a punchline. So I thought the fight juxtaposed with Jack making tea was amazing from a visual and auditory standpoint, but the fight failed to deliver additional depth to Ashi's character. I feel like it was a missed opportunity. I was kind of blindsided when there wasn't any additional meaning to the intense portrayal. One could pose the argument that Ashi sees herself as nothing but a ruthless killing machine due to her dialogue when she fought her mother.
We were made for one purpose, to kill! Our fate was sealed the day we were born!
But I don't think Ashi is revoking her own capacity for change with that line. After all, her speech to Jack last episode was all about how he helped her discover who she was. I don't think that line of dialogue substantially changes the context of the prior battle. Therefore, I think thematically, Ashi's battle with the orc army was muddled and inane, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing, I guess. Although the sound and fury was certainly fun to look at. A fight scene can indeed simply be a fight scene, but the way this fight was depicted and directed made it seem like it should have had nuance to it, and it didn't. This is my only criticism of the episode, though. Getting back to Ashi's mother, who I bet is still alive by the way, I'm glad the subject of Jack killing Ashi's sisters was finally addressed, and Ashi's response was solid and makes a lot of sense. She puts the blame on the person who brainwashed them and sent them out into the world either to kill or be killed. I wonder though, is this bit of her dialogue foreshadowing?
Our fate was sealed the day we were born!
Could this be foreshadowing to Ashi dying at the end of the series? Perhaps having a heroic death? That bit of dialogue just really sent off a bunch of red flags for me, and I could certainly see how Aku being slayed at the cost of Ashi's life would make for a bittersweet conclusion to the show. Jack faces his inner demons personified, and while the resolution was a little cheesy,
You have blinded us, but now I can see.
I still really liked it. The gods who made the sword grant it back to Jack, and Jack gets his original clothes back, just like his father did way back when. I'm fine with Jack not having his beard anymore, but I'm seriously going to miss that mane of his. I can think of another character who will too.
You know, babe, I wasn't crazy about the front scruff, but I am grooving on the mane.
Also, after several instances of Jack in his classic attire being depicted as a deranged manifestation, it's gonna take me a little while to adjust back to this classic look. I keep thinking of him as creepy Jack in those clothes, even when he's not blue or red, but that's mostly on me. Jack is back with his sword, set to take on Aku, right as a certain someone is trying to tell Aku that Jack no longer has his sword. Maybe the true unintentional hero of this story will be Scaramouche. So yeah, I really dug this episode. We got a further character study of Jack, which was awesome, and while I wish Ashi's mind was delved into more, I still enjoyed the overall experience. Those action scenes were very riveting. Can't wait till the next episode.